Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like the entirety of Cardinal Nation, is ready to make a lot of Dick Fitz jokes. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined by my co-host, Ben Samorka.
What's up, Nate?
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone, happy Thanksgiving. Many gobbles to you and your family. How you doing today?
Oh God, you know how I feel about T-Gives. 'Tis the season. We out here. It's almost Turkey Day, baby. You know, that's just.
Well,
I mean, by the time this episode drops, some would argue that it will be Turkey Day.
Many will be arguing. Some would say that at release date of this episode, it will be Thanksgiving.
And I think it's a good holiday. It's a good way to spend your time.
Wow.
It's nice to celebrate the thing that we are celebrating. It's all good.
It's totally a cool holiday rooted in truth. You know, that real time where we were all got together and we were best friends with the indigenous people of North America, and it was great and fun for everyone all the time. What a cool holiday.
I've read that the folks, the native folks, actually liked it more than the people with buckles on their hats.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
I've read that.
Yeah, I mean, friendly offerings of maize and hats and buckles and belts and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. All true.
Nice
and
trading of new sicknesses and viruses that they'd never experienced before.
Man.
And
well,
so it's a great holiday celebrated for a great reason. I absolutely love it.
What's your what's your routine? Are you doing a turkey?
My buddy's smoking a turkey.
Wow.
Your boy's got very little on the docket. I'm going to bake a pumpkin loaf with a maple butter. That usually people I've made it a couple of times. People seem to like it, so I'm just going to play the hits and show up, and that's all she wrote. I'm really phoning it in this year.
Well, Molly and I have settled into an even more basic but vital role at the family Thanksgiving. We are now we bring the charcuterie board, which is
there's work in that though.
There is and there isn't. The work is
unless you're just going to Costco and buying like the pre-fixed charcuterie board and then just putting that on a.
We're doing like one step more complicated. We're going to like Trader Joe's and selecting, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I would just yeah.
So
too much work.
It's nice, but it's zero like kitchen morning. Like, oh, we got to get all the things together and all that, you know. So, it's pretty nice, and I love a good charcuterie board. You know,
I was out to dinner with my lovely wife last night, and she said, "Why don't we just have more charcuterie dinners?"
Yeah, that's the French way. Yeah, I mean,
he's right.
I've been since Lunchables, my boy. I've been cracker, meat, and cheese. That's all I really need.
Cracker, meat, and cheese. That's all I really need. Baby ass bitch. What is wrong with you?
We got some babies don't like crackers and cheese.
You just sounded like a little baby.
I'm a man. Look at my mustache.
I am very happy to see that the beard is gone, and I think the mustache is an upgrade. I hate to pay you any type of compliment, but I do think it's a lot better than where we were last week.
I want to address. Thank you, but it is important to me. I did not shave because you were mean to me about my beard last week. It was always in the plans.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
It was always in the plans. Feud is still on.
Of course, I'm sure my opinion on your physical appearance means absolutely nothing to you, Nate. And everyone out there listening believes that too. And it's totally fine. We can move past this.
There's a bear trap somewhere in your vicinity. You fool.
All right.
Man, wouldn't it suck to step in a bear trap?
Think about bears, man. That's all they do. That's half of existence.
Do you think do people actually use those things, or is that mostly just a product of like we need a slapstick trap for jokes in TV shows and things?
I assume that they were used at one point, but I have never known a man, woman, or child to use a bear trap in real life. So
because we're not
I don't
really
know.
the type to have been around people who use bear trap. You go to Canada regularly. I assume that's a household item in Canada, maybe.
What they do there is they take the fish guts from the leftover, and then what I am told is that they like blend it up in some way and throw it in a freezer, and they make like giant, like 20-pound fish popsicles. They set them out in the woods, and then a human will climb up into a nearby tree, and as the bear is going to lick the fish popsicle, you shoot it in the back of the head. And this is hunting.
Wow, what a gripping sport. I imagine that would be like. Do you think you'd take a lick?
I think I would take a lick. I mean, when in Rome. I'm bear-like. There are bear aspects about me. I think it might feel natural.
Well, and we've talked about food a lot on this show. You'll take a strange bite.
Sure, yeah.
So you think you'd lick a 20-pound cube of frozen fish guts?
I think I would take a lick. Yeah, I'd be fine with taking a lick. Yeah,
yeah, at least just once.
Yeah, because I think if it's frozen, I probably won't get sick. If there's the risk of getting sick, I probably would not. But yeah, I would take a lick. Why not?
Does freezing fish guts make them healthier to consume? What a question.
I don't know if healthier, less likely
to get
less bacteria ridden. Does freezing kill bacteria? I really don't know.
What an important question here on this day of Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what I'm thankful for, Hambone?
Are you gonna transition?
What a segue. I'm thankful.
There we go. Wow.
That the off season has truly begun, and we've got some actual major Cardinal news to talk. One of the biggest trades in recent memory for the St. Louis Cardinals has already happened. Chaim Bloom, a man of his word, we said last week, he was saying he wants to get the Sonny Gray and Nolan Arenado situation resolved quickly for everybody involved. And he's done at least half of that. Sonny Gray has been traded.
Yep.
Wow.
How you feeling?
Do you want to? I'm feeling great, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you? I assume most of the listeners of the show have already heard or read about the deal as far as the names, but just in case, do you want to give a breakdown on what exchanged hands here, and then we can give our hot takes on it?
Let's do it. The Cardinals and Red Sox announced a trade sending right-hander Sonny Gray and cash considerations to Boston in exchange for righty Richard Fitz and left-handed pitching prospect Brandon Clarke, and a player to be named later, or cash considerations back towards the Cardinals. The Cardinals are reportedly including $20 million to help offset Gray's salary as well. And the Sonny Gray's salary has been slightly restructured. The new arrangement is going to pay Sonny $31 million in 2026 and includes a $10 million buyout on a $30 million mutual option for 2027. And of course, we all know that mutual option, it will not be picked up. It'd be very, very unlikely for that to be picked up, which is why we're throwing that $10 million buyout into his salary. Gray is now guaranteed an extra $1 million, a kicker for him waiving his no trade clause with the Cardinals, and he'll receive his full buyout. So that puts his pay for next year at a cool $41 million. And of course, the Cardinals will be paying $20 million of that.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, my hot take is the easy winner of this deal is Mr. Sonny Gray. He's going to get paid $41 million for 1 year of pitching. He's going to make over $1 million per start, assuming he's healthy.
Yeah.
And he goes to a team that is competitive. I think it's a There's also the added benefit of him not being the guy anymore. He gets to pitch with Garrett Crochet at the front of the rotation. I'm a pretty big fan of Brian Bayo. I think that he could have a nice bounce back year this next year. And it seems like they also have Kyle Harrison. They have other interesting arms over there. So Sonny Gray slots into the second or third spot of a pretty solid rotation, part of a pretty solid team that's in the heat of it. And he'll be getting paid one of the highest salaries in all of baseball.
Yeah, I think he's top 5,
year, but
I think technically speaking, for assuming no mega contract this offseason where someone's making more than 40 a year, which I don't think there will be anyone. He's going to be like 4th highest paid in baseball in 2026, which is pretty wild.
Maybe unless Kyle Tucker goes short term or something like that, but that probably won't happen.
Seems unlikely. So good for him. It's no surprise at all that he waived his no trade. I mean, this is a pretty, unless you have some reservation about pitching in Fenway or something like that, or pitching in Boston, which I don't see why you really would, considering the potential options on the table. I think
you think a guy who's known for his slider sweeper, what do the Red Sox do, ever since Breslow and co came over, is they spin the ball. They throw the most breaking balls of any organization. Sonny Gray has a couple of elite breaking balls. He only threw his fastball, I think, 22% of the time last year, which was, I believe, a career low for him. But I think it's a perfect fit for a lot of reasons. And he gets to seek a little revenge on the Yankees, which is even better. It's all good.
Yeah, so I want to talk about kind of what I think this says about Chaim Bloom's approach and the Cardinals' general approach, and then I think we talk about the players that the Cardinals are getting back, which is ultimately probably the more exciting piece of this. But I do think it's pretty interesting, and I think, frankly, quite exciting to see how the team pulled off this deal. Mostly that it answers the big question that we had been really uncertain about, is would Bloom and the DeWitts be willing to throw in cash on a trade like this in order to improve the return, which is something we as fans all seemed like a very obvious choice to do. We've seen other smart teams do it. There's really no counter argument to that other than if you're an owner who's trying to save money. And so fortunately, it seems like Bloom and the DeWitts did kind of stand up to their word on this, and that they're willing to spend in the right place. And they threw in $20 million a year, which obviously we all know overall is not a ton of money, but it's also not nothing. That's a pretty big chunk of change to just be paying another team to have one of your players. So I was pretty excited about that and what that says about Bloom's relationship with the front office and how the front office will be this offseason.
It does a lot of things, Nate. It means that this rebuild, retooling, rebooting, whatever you want to call it, is actually happening. We are making decisions that are future focused. And it takes this deal, because who the hell knows what you would have gotten back for Sonny Gray had you not taken on any salary. But it takes this move from a salary dump move to a baseball move. You go get 2 guys. Fitz is going to be 26 next year. Clarke is 22. I think he's going to be 23 next year. You basically get a full rookie contract on both of these guys. You're talking 12 years of control for 1 year of a 36, 37-year-old pitcher.
Yeah.
That is baseball ass shit right there. That is exactly what the Cardinals need to be doing. These guys both have fastballs that clock over 95, that sit over 95. This is exactly what the Cardinals need to be doing. They went out with the old, in with the new. And, are these guys going to be all-stars or anything like that? Who knows? There's a lot to be seen. They're so young. You have 6 years of each. More with that, with Brandon Clarke, who's not even started his rookie contract yet. But you have so much time, so much to dream on. And as we said, and as Chaim Bloom knows, and everyone out there knows, like, Sonny Gray had no value to the 2026 Cardinals. It is It's a slam dunk of a move. Maybe there's a better deal out there that we don't know about. Maybe on background it'll get reported, but I think it's pretty easy to be happy with what we're looking at right now. And the kicking off of the reboot is, I think, huge. And I do wonder, like, does Chaim Bloom have a different presentation style? Has he moved from like Google Slides to PowerPoint proper? But why? Wow. Like, the one negative thought I had about this trade was, I wonder what you would have got last year for Sonny Gray with 2 years of control. If you would have thrown in a little money, like, would you have gotten even more? And maybe that would have never happened because Mozeliak didn't want to end his career on a reboot or whatever you want to call it. Maybe they legitimately thought they could succeed last year. Who knows what those the rationale was, and maybe we'll find out eventually. But it's all. I'm very happy about all of it so far.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not as interested in it and going back and continuing to question, like, oh, why didn't they trade Sonny Gray? Why didn't they trade Ryan Helsley, et cetera? It is what it is. I think hindsight makes those decisions look even worse than they felt at the time. They felt like bad decisions then, and they've proven to be. That said, Sonny Gray last summer or last winter was saying he will reject trades, and this winter he was obviously not saying that. So we can't put that all on Mozeliak, though you do probably assume if an enticing enough situation came up, he would have waived it, but we'll never know. We'll never know.
I think it is. I think it starts with the messaging up top. And that is what I wonder, if Chaim Bloom's messaging or communication style is maybe more direct or clearer, or what it is, or if he, I'd be curious to know the answer of what he was able to communicate so easily, seemingly from my chair, that Sonny was like, yeah, it makes sense. Let's move on. And, hopefully I can find a good fit, which they did. I wonder if behind closed doors, Mo was hemming and hawing at all, or just what those conversations look like, because it seemed like it all turned pretty quickly. That being said, they had a maybe one of the most boring years of Cardinals baseball of my life last year. That might have been
a full year, and Sonny Gray looking at one more year on his contract. If you remember, the narrative of 2025 going in was, we think we can compete this year, but if not, 2026 is the year, and that just hasn't really come together. And now the narrative is totally different. 2026 is a rebuild year, maybe 27, so it's just a totally different story. And I think if you take also the DeWitts at their word too, as far as like being willing to spend, and just a generally different vibe right now than what it was the last couple of years, is that they message received of the massive drop in fan base at baseball games, at the stadium, and just overall discontent from the fan base. Again, if you take them at their word, you've got a new GM or new Pobo who is seemingly very smart, crafting smart baseball moves and explaining why spending the money is worth it long term. And if the DeWitts truly want to get back to competitive baseball quickly, then this was the right move. And everything seems to point that way. So I'm not saying we're going to get like a fundamental change in the DeWallet and all of a sudden we're going to go out there and start signing the high dollar free agents. We'll still see on that. I have some hope for that, but we don't know. But at the least, we're willing to see them do something that we haven't seen much in the past, which is buy down contracts like this to get a better return. I really feel like if this trade had happened 3 years ago, it would have been a dump deal where you're getting nothing and another team is paying the full 40 or whatever.
I think it's good. It's a great thing to see. And it is like, so I wonder if the conversation is, so we're going to pay Sonny Gray $36 million. Hopefully we can move him. Let's just, that expense is on the books. We could pay him $20 million and go get 2 young pitchers who are essentially, in baseball money, free. And that, like, it's a creative, efficient way to use your dollars, which the Cardinals really have been not capable of understanding. Like, this isn't a very efficient way to spend money. It is $20 million to have Sonny Gray no longer on your team, but you are getting young, interesting pitchers at a cost that, if these guys accrue a combined 3 WAR over their major league lifetime with the Cardinals, you have made your money back and then some already. So it's the fact that they're being smart. It's not a market inefficiency. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's like they're being more efficient with the finite resource that the Cardinals have, which is money. All that, all that's a bit self-imposed, and the DeWallet and whatever, they could probably spend quite a bit more than they all act like. But if you have this finite resource or a deliberately finite resource, then using it more efficiently is very exciting.
Yeah. Now, again, not that we need to be super fair to them, but to be fair to them, there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for the Cardinals to do exactly this scenario.
Sure.
Almost every time our high dollar players are trying to be traded, they are not still top of the pack, So we don't really know. Like, if had the Cardinals been trying to trade Paul Goldschmidt after 2023 or something like that, like, would they have paid him? I don't know. We'll never know. But at least we can say in this situation, under this new management, they did what I think is roundly considered the smart baseball move. And it is just so good to, again, feel like the Cardinals have made a smart baseball move. Now, will it work out? I don't know, but I'm quite hopeful. Let's talk a little bit more about the players. I think let's start with Dick Fitz, Richard Fitz. There's an open slot in the rotation.
He's going to fit right into the back of this rotation.
There we go. Just going to slide it right in.
Did we say
We're loving it,
yeah,
folks.
There we
go. We got it. There will be no ending to that. But yeah, Dick fits right into our rotation. And what do we got on Mr. Richard Fitz?
Yeah, so what's interesting is he actually has a big league experience. So there's quite a bit to talk about. He's going to be 26 years old in 2026, which just makes me feel old. But that's fine.
Yeah.
He was acquired by Boston in 2023 when the Red Sox traded with the New York Yankees. So I think, just to be clear, this was not a guy that was drafted by Chaim Bloom back in his Red Sox days, but traded by Verdugo traded by Breslow.
Yeah.
And then Fitz came over in that trade. So far, he's thrown 65 2/3 Major League Baseball innings over 2 seasons. That's 14 starts. And over those 14 starts, he has a 3.97 ERA and a 5.02 FIP. Not the way that you want those numbers to look.
No.
But there are some things that are interesting about him. I said this earlier, but his average fastball is a little over 95 miles per hour. So he's got big, hard stuff, which is really nice when Fitz is in the room. Last year with the Red Sox, in very limited playing time, he held a 23% home run fly ball rate. And Nate, I'm going to say right now, I'm calling it, he won't do that next year.
No. I mean, ballpark upgrade for sure.
Huge ballpark upgrade. Yeah. And just like that kind of luck, that is a luck issue. It's also giving up meatballs. But that is a ridiculously high percentage there. And I just think that there's almost no way he will carry that going forward, or he'll be out of baseball. He's still figuring out his pitch mix, which is very interesting. We know that the Red Sox are all about spin, so I'm sure they were throwing everything they can at him.
Mm-hmm.
In 2024, he threw a 4-seam splitter slider. In 25, he added a sinker, curve, and a change, and did not throw the splitter anymore, which I thought was interesting. And what's even more exciting is that all of those pitches, according to Stuff Plus on Fangraphs, are either at or around 100 or slightly above 100. There is no pitch that's sitting in like the Sonny Gray sweeper category of like 130, 140. But he can throw a lot of pitches. None of them are particularly bad. He doesn't really walk guys. I think that when you put that all together, you can see that there's probably more juice to get out of this guy. And I'm not saying he's going to be a number one, but take all those pitches into account. Take his fastball into account, his command, his ability to learn new pitches and execute new pitches. I think that we should be pretty excited about Fitz.
Yeah, I mean, in the rotation, the gap is wide open, plenty of space. Yeah. So, you need guys like this, There's the high end on Clarke, which we'll talk about here in a moment, but like we also need innings, and you need. I think it's a really good target for them because it does seem like it's like a worst case scenario. He's probably a fifth starter sort of guy. But I think there's still room to grow here for all the reasons you just outlined. And maybe he's more like a number 3. And now all of a sudden you've gotten 6 years of a middle of the rotation guy for 1 year and $20 million of a guy that wasn't going to be helpful for your team that year. Like Richard Fitz alone, I think, is an interesting return for Sonny Gray.
We have the new brain trust. We have the Chaim Bloom and the Surfolios coming down and saying, hey, hopefully they're having a conversation like this. And I'm just totally making this up right now. We really like the splitter. We really like the slider. Why don't you throw those more?
Right.
Pair those off. Hopefully they're helping them come up with a plan. They have a different point of view than the Red Sox had. And they can continue to develop this guy at the big league level, which I don't see any reason why we shouldn't expect some of that, some change from what he was doing.
Yeah. I mean, most guys take time, especially pitchers, take time to develop at the major league level. And he basically has still, 65 innings or whatever. That's basically nothing, right? So he's got a lot of room to grow. He has options. So if it doesn't work out, they can send him down and develop him. I mean, it's basically a full rookie contract, right? So it's all the stuff that you expect from a rookie contract. So they can still develop him. They can send him down. We can see what we've got. Tons of control. And you just said it was brought up in the Bird Scored, which was very active during this entire thing. News breaking on the Bird Scored all the time. That, for the first time in a while, you do feel like maybe that we can dream on this a little bit more. It's like, you just have this, it's kind of we don't know yet if this will be true or not. But remember, there was a time as a Cardinal fan where the Cardinals would go and get a guy that maybe had middling success with another org. And you actually felt like, oh, okay, bringing him into the workshop, he's going to, the Cardinals see something, they're going to turn him into something. It was the pitching machine, with Dave Duncan and all that. We don't know that that's the case yet, but the brain trust around the Cardinals, all these new guys and the success that they've had at teams with the Guardians and the Mariners and where these guys all came from, who are all pitching factories, you are like, ooh, okay, maybe they're you've got these pieces. He throws hard. He's got good extension, no bad pitch, but no great pitch yet. Maybe they'll figure it out. And he had so little time in Boston, actually at the major league level. Maybe they were still working on it too, but they're willing to trade value to get value. So, because I'm excited about Richard Fitz. I mean, I'm not expecting him to be the front of the rotation, like you said. I think we've actually got some pretty exciting options for that coming up. But we need so many starting pitchers, and the fact that they went and got a guy who I think we're going to reasonably comfortably say he's in the rotation in 2026.
I think
great.
He probably is your number 3. You think Liberatore McGreevy fits, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think depth charts has Palante higher than him, but I don't think any of us actually believe that.
Also, remember that Chaim Bloom has talked about acquiring more starting pitching. So I wonder if Fitz is it.
That's the other piece of this whole thing is this is just the first trade, right?
Yeah.
We know Donovan. Well, we'll talk about the other stuff coming up, but there's going to be more. We just know this was what he wanted to do first, and he's done it first, and it's already good. So, exciting.
I want to read a quick a paraphrase section of Eric Longenhagen's post on Fitz at the beginning of last year in their prospect report. He was the 5th ranked prospect for the Boston Red Sox going into 2025, and this is just a little section of his write-up. He said that Fitz has a plus fastball command and a hard 2-plane slider that gives Fitz 2 whiff-getting weapons. He leaned more on his slider in 2024 and also incorporated a changeup at a roughly 16% clip. He can alter the shape of his breaking ball in a couple of ways. He has a cutter in the 85-89 mile per hour range and a curveball in the low 80s, and a slider with velos that blend in between the two of them. The changeup is very good once in a while, and Fitz's command helps with that. So even when it lacks movement, it tends to stay out of trouble. He can attack all quadrants of the zone, and his velocity has been trending up across the last 2 years. So again, I think that's all. There's like the guy throws hard. He has a lot of pitches. He has command. To me, it really feels like there is a click away. A click or two away from him striking out 9 to 10 guys per 9, jumping that number up. And if he can do that, well, he's never walked more than I think like 8% of hitters over his minor league career, which isn't all that long, but quite a few innings. If we can, there's like all these little things. The extension is good. I think you mentioned that earlier. All these little pieces, you really feel like could add up to something that, well, who knows what could happen.
Right. Which is why I'm ultimately a believer that at the end, like no matter what, his floor is like a major league starting pitcher, which is in and of itself very valuable when we look at the Cardinals team, and we have very few of those right now. And the recipe for Busch Stadium, don't walk guys and keep the ball down, like he should be able to do that. And with a little bit better luck, like, I don't know. I think probably the realistic, like really good outcome here is like a 3.5 ERA, mid to high 3 ERA, 180 innings type guy who almost never blows up a game, but gives up, 3 to 4 most games or 2 to 5 most games, keeps you in it, is what we're looking at here, with maybe some potential for something a little bit better than that.
We know it's going to be a lot better than watching some of the guys that we had to watch last season. If you think of this guy as just being the replacement for Miles Mikolas, that should make you feel pretty good about being a Cardinals fan. The other good thing that I want to call out about Fitz is he's a big boy. Always like a big boy. And he's somebody that you can probably have him come in and expect him to make damn near every start. He has thrown 150 innings in professional baseball before. Does that mean he can jump up to 180, 190? Is he even capable of sticking around in games that long? But I think a big question for the Cardinals going into next year is, where are the innings coming from? Is Libby going to be there? Is McGreevy going to be there? Well, Fitz being somebody who can possibly start 32 games is also very important for not only just like his development, but the Cardinals being like a team next year.
Well, you want to avoid the worst case scenario, which is part of why that Cardinals kept going and getting guys like Gibson and Lynn and whatnot, is that all of a sudden you're just throwing up every AAA starter you have. And they're pitching in the majors when they really shouldn't be, which is bad for the major league team. It's bad for the minor league team. It's bad for that guy. It's just really bad for everyone. If you have
bad for me,
Hambone in particular, everyone's having a bad time. And so that's where that entire concern is all boiled down to, you hear managers and Pobos and whatnot saying, we got to get innings, That's what they mean, like innings from a guy that should be there. And the Cardinals have a desperate need for that right now. We still have a giant gap in innings for 2026. But again, I think that's still to be addressed. Let's talk about the other piece. So I was thinking about it, Hambone. I imagine the Red Sox might have just done Sonny Gray for Dick Fitz if they were paying the entirety of the Sonny Gray contract. It is the money and maybe a little bit, maybe pay a little bit, but like the money that went into this was the Cardinals essentially buying the current Red Sox number 5 overall prospect and ranked. I don't know where he is on other. He's like just outside the top 100 overall, I think, on some lists. But
on FanGraphs, they have him at 86.
Okay, well there you go. Brandon Clarke, a lefty in their minors. There is. I've quoted this guy a couple times on the show. There's a fantasy baseball writer that I really like, Michael Halpern, who does like deep dives on prospects. And I'm just gonna steal from him and read a little blurb that he put. Now this was near the end of last season, where he ranked Clarke at like 110, 115 overall prospect, but had him as high as like 60 at one point in the season. But he said he's slowed down considerably from his hot start, and he's done for the year with blisters, which ended his season last year. Well, he just doesn't deserve a super high ranking right now. This is still a guy I want to bet on. He's 6'4", 220 pounds lefty with upper 90s sinker and electric slider. The track record isn't long, and he needs to improve his changeup, so he's not a finished product, but this is the type of guy who just looks different when you watch him. The struggles are starting to get to me a bit, though, and the season-ending injury isn't great. So there's a mixed bag in that, right? Which is part of why the Cardinals are ultimately able to get this guy. But the things that stick out to me there, high 90s sinker, electrifying slider, 6'4", 220 pounds, just looks different, type of guy you want to get excited about. Like, the Cardinals actually now have some exciting Cardinal prospects, but we haven't had, or pitching prospects. We haven't had many guys like Brandon Clarke in the minors. No. It's very exciting.
What I also read, you mentioned he's 6'4", 220, is that he's kind of a skinny 6'4", 220, and it's not often you see a guy who's 22 years old and who's that big who is like still kind of projectable, like he still might add strength and weight, which I'm just glad that sports exists so people like this have an outlet for their size and athleticism, and they're not just walking around with you and I. But yeah, I think the real headline for me, so there's an injury history. There's not a ton of history, period. But we're talking about a potential 80 grade slider. And whether that's from the rotation or the back end of the bullpen or whatever, we're talking about a potential as good as it gets slider from the left side from a monster person. And I think this is all really exciting. What's also really exciting is the Cardinals have Liam Doyle and Dome and Quinn Matthews and Tink Hence and Tekoa Roby and all these other guys.
Mouts.
So you can have Brandon Clarke sit down in high A or double A and figure it out. There's no rush, especially with the Cardinals downshifting into second gear or rebooting or whatever. You let this kid hopefully figure it out as a starter, and you have somebody who is, who has potential front of the rotation stuff. It's really easy today, a couple of days after the trade, to sit here and be like, yeah, well, Nate, we're going to watch Liam Doyle and Brandon Clarke and Quinn Matthews, a 3-headed lefty monster, take the Cardinals into the playoffs in 2 years. Yeah. It's, who knows? Pitching prospects aren't real. Yeah. They'll probably all die of arm cancer or something like that. But
normal problem.
Collecting as many of these freaks as possible is the way to do it, and he is a freak.
Yeah, well, there's a saying: there's no such thing as a pitching prospect for a reason, right? And he slots right into there. Giant guy who throws crazy, struggles with command, but if it all comes together, look out, everybody, because he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. I mean, we've heard that story 1,000 times around the league, and every once in a while it works out. We haven't had that story for the Cardinals in a while now. It's not even Liam Doyle. Liam Doyle is a different type of projectable starter. Like Brandon Clarke is that like he might come up and just be completely wild, but strike out 15 per 9. I've seen like
is he Rick Ankiel or is he Randy Johnson? Who knows?
Yeah, I saw like his sort of projection is worst case scenario. He's like a late inning reliever. That's actually not true. It's a pitching prospect. Worst case scenario is we never see him again.
So the last time we talk about Brandon Clarke.
Yeah. But as far as like assuming he makes it to the majors and has a career, you can certainly see how there's some reliever profile here. But that's fine. You got to have those too. And what we've seen the Cardinals able to do is develop relievers. So you at least have some comfort that if it doesn't work at the starting rotation, certainly having a monster lefty reliever who can strike out everybody is going to be valuable.
Yeah. To pull back, I think what's really important in making this kind of trade is if these two guys impact the major league roster positively over the next 5-6 years, you've had a great trade. This is really good. You shouldn't bet the farm on these two gentlemen. But if you don't mind, I want to read another little Longenhagen paraphrase section about Brandon Clarke. He says that his delivery is more cross-bodied now than it was when he was drafted. He delivers from a relatively true three-quarter slot, but with vertical hand position on release, which sounds confusing. The line on his heater is absolutely brutal around the hands on left-handed hitters. Clarke has a curveball changeup at the combine, but now he has a lethal upper 80 slider that will crest 90 miles per hour with huge length, and it plays up because of the changes he made to his delivery. Another thing I want to talk about, he only had 38 innings. He started 14 games last year in between low A and high A. He was striking out over 14 guys per 9, almost 35% of hitters he faced. Now, he's also walking about 15.5% of guys. But that equaled to an FIP of 3.36. So even with him not being absolutely lights out, not perfect, walking guys, still a highly effective pitcher in his first turn in pro ball.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was saying. Like, that command is going to have to come down, but he's also still young, still developing. It's a pretty normal path for these sorts of guys, and that will be the question. Does he rein it in? Does he figure out how to have that insane spin, that insane velocity, and be in the zone? If he does, it's going to be incredible. If he doesn't, maybe he's a reliever. Maybe he never makes it at all, right? But this is like what I've been saying this whole time around rebuild. Like, I understand. I think getting a guy like Richard Fitz is really important to building a full team, and I'm glad he's a part of the team. But this is the stuff that you really want to be going after. You really want to see the team getting as many. Ben's doing some eyebrow wagging. You really want to get a bunch of these lottery tickets because you really only need one to hit to really change the dynamic of your team.
With this trade, you raise the ceiling and the floor of the Cardinals at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah. So it's a good trade. I'm excited. We'll see how this all works out. We can't really evaluate it for another couple years to see how it works out. But at the end of the day, all of this for one season of a 36-year-old starting pitcher.
And just think of the physical weight that we just traded. We traded little Sonny Gray. What is he? 5'9", 170, something like that.
This is an underreported part of the deal, Hamba. So please don't let me interrupt you.
For 12 plus feet of pitcher and well over 400 pounds. I mean, that is, if you just think about it, like the meat that has been
incredible
exchanged.
What an incredible return. There's got. Someone out there, we need to see what was the biggest weight ratio in all time in trades. It's gonna be like a 1-for-6 sort of thing.
Right.
People have done like what's the heaviest battery of all time, or the last year we had what's the heaviest and lightest teams in baseball. We need to know what was the biggest counterbalance in weight in trades in baseball history. These are.
I'm sure this one isn't up there,
no.
but it feels because of the littleness of Sonny and the bigness of these boys. It feels that way.
So one last note on the trade. It's always interesting to me. You want to know what the other side is feeling. You love to be at the side of the trade where a trade goes down and the other side hates it. The Cardinals have been recipients of a few of those. I will say that I was looking around on Red Sox fan sites and whatnot. And
I was on the Red Sox subreddit a couple of days. Yeah.
It's always interesting. It's like going to read Our Conservative, just like, what are they bitching about over there? But anyway, generally speaking, Red Sox fans seem content with this trade, understanding that it's probably a pretty good win now move. But there's a lot of like, if we spend all this on just Sonny Gray, this is not enough, which I think is an understandable fan perspective. But I was pretty happy to see like, no one is like, nice, fleece the Cardinals. It's a lot of I hope this is worth it. Like those guys, we get it. We understand the trade. It makes sense, but yikes, I hope this works out for us because it's only 1 year and everyone's looking at Sonny Gray's ERA and not his underlying numbers,
I think obviously this is kind of the trade that is going to be a lot easier to grade out further down the year. Or further down, like in a few years, to see what happens with Fitz and Clarke and how it all unfolds. But I think that unanimously, I would say, as today, this trade feels pretty fair. The Red Sox are pushing in right now. They trade young assets to get a pitcher who was good immediately to the Cardinals, who need pitchers who are going to be good later. Yeah. The Red Sox also get a ton of money in the deal, and I feel pretty confident, Nady, that the Red Sox are going to bring back Alex Bregman, and I think that they are going to get Pete Alonso, and I think the team is going to be really good. I think they're going to get both of. I think they're going to get both of them.
That would be fun for them. That would be very fun.
I don't love it from where I'm sitting, but I think it's going to happen, and maybe they move on from Masataka Yoshida or Tristan Casas, but I think they're going to get both of those guys.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I guess one last note on the trade, which is just to say, Sonny Gray was a lot of fun to watch. It is a bummer to not have him in 2026. We have obviously been just pretty quite joyful about this trade, and I think Cardinal fans should be. But, pour one out for Sonny Gray. Really the best player on the team for the last 2 years, really, and it's been fun to watch him. It's been fun to have a front of the rotation starter. And this will ultimately be a blip in a couple bad years of Cardinal baseball. So I don't really know what his legacy as a Cardinal is, if he will even really have one. But I don't know. I always really liked him, and I hope he does well over for the Red Sox. Although fuck the Red Sox, but
I think Sonny Gray should get a ton of credit for coming in and doing exactly what we thought he was going to do, earning his paycheck.
Yep.
Posting damn near every day. You remember he started 2024 with an injury and was able to rebound and have a great season. I think that he was probably really good for our young pitchers.
Yeah.
Like the McGreevy types. I liked watching him. I liked his post. He was very forthright in his post-game interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
I liked having Sonny Gray.
Me too.
I really wish we would have had a halfway decent team that he was the ace or number 2 on. Yeah, but no complaints from him. All marks. I thought he was great and fun to watch. He's a very interesting pitcher to watch pitch.
Yeah, and it worked. Like as far as the contract for the Cardinals go, it worked incredibly well for them. Someone say like, good job. Little too late for the overall team, but we got 2 solid years and then a really incredible return from the trade. And a lot of that is just because Sonny Gray was great. This trade doesn't happen if Sonny Gray wasn't worth it to the Red Sox. So, just to close the book on what is now a 2-year career as the Cardinals, but someone who, can you imagine what these last 2 years would have been like without him? God. It would have been.
Well, worse. We maybe would have started this last year, the year
That's
prior.
Point. That's a good point.
But that's not Sonny Gray's fault. Sonny Gray showed up and played well, and that was great. But man, I will say, looking at roster resource, looking at the Cardinals starting rotation for next year, which I've been doing a couple of times over the past month, is it produces anxiety in my bones. I'm not sure how to feel about it.
It is dire.
Yeah.
like I guess a brief tangent. Like we're really only confident right now with Liberatore, McGreevy, and Fitz now. And to be completely fair, like McGreevy we enjoyed, but he needs to get better. Liberatore we really enjoyed, but he needs to get better. And we just don't know about Fitz yet, although we just spent a half an hour talking about how much we like it. Like all of these guys could have over 4 ERAs in 2026. And they're the 3 best on the team right now. So it could be rough. But that's, worst case. It will be somewhere in the middle. Liberatore will take a step forward. McGreevy step back. Right. Will be good. We don't know. But
and in a couple of months, you and I are going to be talking about does Ivan Henderson or Tink Hintz or Mouts or Matthews, are they going to be earning a spot in the rotation? And maybe you feel, maybe Quinn Matthews shows up and looks like he did the year prior and really just forces the Cardinals' hand. But it is nice to be in a place, Nate. I only named a couple, but there are so many starting pitchers who I'm like, I could see them throwing some innings for the Cardinals in 2026, and I'm excited about that.
Especially when you start thinking about June, July, August of 2026, after they've gotten some ground to stand on in minors, and we understand how they've matured from last year. Yeah, absolutely. We're in a better spot going into 2026 than we have been in a while as far as that goes. Let's hit on a few of the other bits of news that have happened over the last week, and then a few more of the rumors. I think, the most important thing to the show, Hambo, maybe even more important than this entire Sonny Gray conversation, is that the Pozo Bozos remain. What a roller coaster us Pozo Bozos have been on for the last couple weeks. Pozo was non-tendered, which was not the biggest surprise, but maybe surprising to some. Did not end up getting picked up by anyone else, and has now re-signed a major league contract with the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, this contract has player options. It's really just kind of the same thing that we had with him before. I guess just restructured, or I don't even really know all the details of it. But long and short is that he's on the Cardinals again, but he can also be in the minors. So I guess it makes sense, right? Pozo was fine last year. We need as many catchers as possible on this team. We don't have enough. You know how I feel about that. Pozo, not the best background, but becoming a bit of a fan favorite for his charity work. So we do like that about him, and his his story and all that. So complicated figure, but the Pozo Bozos remain. What are you feeling, Hambone?
I think that this means Pedro Pages is going to get traded. I think it's the only way it makes sense, because when you look at the Cardinals depth chart, obviously Ivan Herrera is still a part of the catching conversation. We assume he's going to be moderately healthy. Pedro Pages currently is on the 40-man as well. Pozo just kind of sort of joined it. Crooks started the lion's share of games last year at the end of the year. And then Leonardo Bernal, who we talked about, was added to the 40-man. He is only going to be 22 years old next year, but that glove is real. The bat is probably the best out of everyone I just named, other than Ivan Herrera. Why would you need a Pozo? Pozo is your emergency parachute if everything goes wrong. And I find it hard to believe that if the Cardinals were going to keep Pedro Pages, obviously the goal is to keep Ivan Herrera. They have Jimmy Crooks, who is one of the better defensive shortstops in all of catchers in all of minor league baseball. And Bernal is also knocking on the door of the big leagues. Why on God's green earth would you need a big league ready, defense first, interesting hitter, not a good hitter in Pozo, unless you were going to move on from Pages, who I think is probably the most likely to be traded out of all of those people, because his vibes, his defense is, we talked about that. He is a very underrated defensive catcher. I think he is probably gone. And if it's not him, it will be Crooks. But I think either him or Pages is going to get traded, or they are marketing. Obviously, the Pozo deal, it's low dollars, it's low risk. If that doesn't happen, it's not going to hamstring the Cardinals. But I think that was the move to allow them to move on from Pages.
Yeah, well, we know that they are shopping Pages, or at least that's been reported on. And we know that they want to keep Jimmy Crooks, or at least that's been reported on. So that all lines up. The only other element to that I would say is this is leaning into like the emergency break glass sort of guy. Let's imagine they decide like, ooh, Ivan is just not working at catcher.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Crooks, you're playing most games. Oh no, that offense like really bottomed out. He really struggled last year. Everyone, it was a minor amount of at bats, but it was bad. What if we get into June or whatever and he's still hitting, sub 200? And now all of a sudden you actually like Ivan and Crooks are just not sticking, and you're not ready for Bernal to come up. You've got Pozo just hanging out. He had a good time with the team last year, and he's ready. He'll slot in and be fine. I don't think you have to trade Pages to get to a point where you absolutely need Pozo, but it is a worst case scenario sort of thing, and the dollar amount is low enough. Then they're like, why not? He knows where the bathrooms are. Let's just bring him in.
Yeah.
He'll I'm sure we'll start at AAA and just be ready if needed.
Yeah, my assumption is the pecking order currently is Pages, Crooks, Pozo, Bernal, right? As far as who's going to,
after Herrera,
after Herrera.
Well, it might actually be Crooks, Pages, though. You like what they've been talking about. I imagine they may just want to go with Crooks right out of the gates, and Pages is the third string, assuming he's with the team. Because I get it. Like, I just wonder, is there a real trade market for Pages, or is it it's more likely, I guess, that he's bundled with someone else? I like him. We've done enough back and forth on his value as a major league player. He has value as a major league catcher. I just wonder if enough value for a team to target him in a trade. You don't see a lot of guys like that moved around in trades,
I agree with you. I don't think that the Cardinals are going to go get a Dick Fitz for Pedro Pages or anything like that. Yeah. But I do think that a team, the Royals don't really have a great defensive option at catcher right now. They moved on from Fermin. Miami, who's their catcher right now? Yeah. Augustine is not really a catcher.
They've got some interesting prospects. So they're actually kind of like the Cardinals, where they have like they have what's his name, like Joe Mack. There's three catchers that are all kind of, who knows which one will end up being the final one, but it's almost certainly not going to be Augustine. He was like one of the worst catchers in baseball last year, and hits really well, so he'll probably end up playing first.
I think there's enough teams that could use a defensive upgrade that are focused on pitching and defense that would go trade for him. And I think the Cardinals would be fine to move on from him because we have Crooks and Bernal. It's arguably a defensive upgrade, which just speaks to the Cardinals' weird situation and all these catchers. I also think like we're in the same situation we've been in with our outfielder logjam. You got to pick a guy and move on. Yeah. Like they should. I would encourage them, whether it's Pages or somebody else, to pick 2 or 3 of the guys that they like and move on from the others.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess we've said we'll see a ton, but I mean we are still here at the early parts of the off season. I imagine this is going to be cleared up, and we'll get some answers. I think the team's going to want to go into 26 with some clarity around this and have a clear pecking order, which I guess I'm feeling confident in Chaim Bloom right now. So I suspect,
we're doing it, baby.
He'll do something.
Yep.
All right, what's next? The Cardinals have signed reliever Scott Blewett. Classic baseball name.
Maybe the worst last name for a relief pitcher.
Yeah. It's a minor league deal, and they've also brought back Sem Robberse to a minor league deal, which is good. I like Sem, and forever rip Sem for what he had to do for the Cardinals. And was it 24 when he was just thrown out there to start every game? And it was rough for him. So hopefully he can put it together. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. But I don't know. Any takes on Blewett and Robberse?
No, he bounced around last year. He played for the Twins, Orioles, and the Braves, racked up 44 in a third innings. Nothing really amazing about him. He's a right-handed relief pitcher. But, as we've said with all of these pickups, maybe there's a spinny type thing that the Cardinals like about him, and throwing more names in the hat of the bullpen is smart.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. And, yeah, Robberse, I mean, we listed all of the guys that are probably ahead of him as far as the depth chart in the minors, but you can't have enough pitching. Yeah. So you never know, especially when you are concerned with truly just providing enough innings to get to the end of the season. This is a fine move.
Yep. All right, let's touch on a couple rumors. The first is, unsurprising, there seems to be maybe a market developing around JoJo Romero. I'm quite hopeful that they're able to get this done. This is such an obvious trade candidate to me. He's good. We'd be fine having him on the Cardinals team this year, but this is the last year of his contract. So if he's not traded now, he's going to be traded at the deadline, assuming he's still pitching well. So why not just get it done now and have that spot available to one of the many other arms that we want to see developed? And generally, a very good left-handed pitcher that's cheap and has a full year of control should get you something interesting. We'll see how the reliever market develops. Sometimes high-end relievers get you an insane amount. Sometimes it's lottery picks and things like that. But when we talk about excess value and capitalizing on the value of what you have, it seems pretty obvious to trade JoJo Romero right now, assuming you get something. There's no reason to just dump him. But if there's something out there for them, some value, go ahead and do it.
You would think that damn near every team in baseball would want to have a JoJo Romero.
Yeah.
Detroit team from last postseason, they obviously had a couple of really large holes in their bullpen the way that they kind of ended their season. They probably would have killed for a JoJo Romero. But I think what really is important is the last 3 seasons since he's been with the Cardinals, he's been super duper consistent. He has pitched quite a few innings. He throws the ball hard, and he doesn't really walk a ton of people. So I think that there's going to be a nice market for him. I agree. I don't think the Cardinals are going to get anything amazing, but there should be a big market and a lot of teams competing with each other to get this guy. Who doesn't want a JoJo on their team?
Right. JoJo is the name of the skeleton that we have on our front porch, our Halloween skeleton. Its name is JoJo.
After Mr. Romero?
No, actually, we have had JoJo for nigh on 10 years now or so.
Oh, wow, my dear boy.
Yeah. So, again, a little hint, if you're out there driving around St. Louis and you see a house with a skeleton on its front porch, yell, "Hi, JoJo." And maybe it'll say clack, 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 because that's how skeletons speak.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You would like somebody to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Inside
anything else?
Inside each of us all is a wet skeleton.
Oh, that is a good point.
That's another thing I want to say.
How do you know it's wet?
Think about it. Your skeleton is so wet right now.
It's nasty.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Why are you so nasty?
It's the truth. We're all just a bunch of walking around wet skeletons.
Okay, Nate.
You just want nothing to do with the wet skeleton conversation. That's fine. We can move on to
Thank you.
Another skeleton that throws baseballs really well. I found this interesting. I know you have as well. Ryan Helsley getting a lot of interest.
Yeah.
As a starting pitcher.
I was going to say, Ryan Helsley getting interest. Of course. Ryan Helsley getting interest as a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
Now you've got me. My interest is piqued.
Quite. I guess you kind of think at this point they're locked in as what they're doing. But there's been a big trend recently of high-end relievers converting to starters later in their career, and we're seeing some pretty good success from it. And I can see why you would think Ryan Helsley might be one of those guys. How this changes his market and what someone's willing to pay. Because now it's different. You're not buying a reliever, you're buying a project for a starting pitcher, which like that's what they did with Jordan Hicks, and it hasn't really worked out. But the Braves with Reynaldo Lopez, the Diamondbacks with Ryan Nelson, the Cardinals now with Kyle Leahy are going to try it. It's interesting. I'd like to see Helsley get a real shot as a starter. It was yet another example in the Cardinals where a guy kind of gets elevated quickly because of his stuff into the bullpen, and just out of need and success, they just sort of lock in as a bullpen arm and never really get a shot as a starter. So I'd like to see it just because I like Helsley, and you like a starter who throws almost 100 or more. But it's usually a big hill to climb. There's a lot to do.
It's not guaranteed.
Yeah,
but he is very stuffy.
Yeah.
And he is also a large man. And I think that those two things with his slider, breaking ball, and fastball combo, and him being an absolute horse could help him translate fairly easily. What I want to ask, though, is so the Cardinals have talked about, Chaim Bloom and team have talked about, I miss saying Mo and Co. already. Bloom and Co.?
Bloomin' Doom.
The Bloom Boys.
The Bloom Boys. Well, is it all boys?
I don't know.
It likely is. The
Bloom Brigade.
The Heim time.
Okay.
The Bloom Brigade might be it.
Has talked about adding a starting pitcher. Should the Cardinals entertain bringing back Ryan Helsley on a 1-year try to be a starting pitcher type role? Is this something you talk about, like, it's a bit of a gamble, but if it works out, you could see it working out really well. You move Helsley at the deadline, or you retain him for the future, probably more likely move him at the deadline. Should the Cardinals entertain something like this?
Yeah, I think if you're doing this project, you're trying to sign him for more than 1 year, right? Because you kind of want to reap the rewards, unless it's a straight up flip, like you're saying. Which would require basically for it to immediately work. I think you really are hoping to get like a 2-year, maybe 3-year deal with him, and say year 1 is the transition, and then hopefully year 2 is when we have him as a starter just all year and it's working. And and then if you just do a 1-year deal, you run the risk of like it all comes together in July or August, and it's after the trade deadline, and then you just get nothing out of that, as far as the development, as far as developing your rebuild goes. So I'd like to see it. If the Cardinals were doing it, I'd want it to be like a 2-year deal.
I would imagine there's almost no way Ryan Helsley actually signs a 1-year deal, right? This is his time to cash in.
Yeah. Anybody that is, well, but also we talked about it earlier. He certainly impacted his off-season value with his struggles with the Mets. And if he's thinking truly long term, and he believes in his ability to be a starter, like the probably 3-year reliever deal he could get right now versus the 1-year or 2-year try to be a starter deal. Like if he can do the starter transition, his next contract is way bigger than anything he would ever gotten as a reliever.
Right.
But a lot has to go right for that.
He's been wanting to do it. He's been calling for it for years at this point.
Yeah.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about? Cardinal news related?
No, I just was remembered that Jordan Hicks is now a Red Sox, and I was confused by that.
Yeah. Yep. All right.
That's all I got, though.
Well, we'll talk about some of the other news around the league as the hot stove heats up. And we'll, of course, play a little game. But before we do that, Hambone, we want to remind our listeners that this show is listener-supported by listeners just like you out there. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Hambo, I debated mentioning this, but I just think it's funny, and I think our listeners will appreciate. We actually got contacted to do a an influencer thing for a a sports betting site here in Missouri. I won't give them free advertising and say which one it was. But you know what? Talking about birds can't be bought. We were never going to do that anyway, but we especially can't do it because we're supported by our listeners. Isn't that right, Hambone? Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds.
We would never, under any circumstances, do anything like that. Yep.
Certainly not for a betting site. But mattresses.
Yeah, there's definitely no price point that would make me consider that. But yeah, Nate, it's totally aligned, buddy.
We'll lean in on the decision we made on this one. Ben. Patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Talking About Birds can't be bought unless it's our Build-A-Wit tier on Patreon. Or
then we
just
can absolutely be bought. Yeah.
Or just like, I guess, a reasonably priced influencer deal we'd probably say yes to also. But make it about mattresses or whatever, whatever cereals and shit that everyone else does.
I bet we're going to find out in a couple of years that the mattress industry was just laden with corruption and greed and death.
I bought a mattress last night, Hambone.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we've had the same mattress.
Way to bury the lead.
We've had the same mattress for like, I don't know, 14 years that we bought, paid like $300 for. So we were like, all right, it's time to get something legit.
We're in the market too. We'll talk about this later.
We can talk this later. Just use our promo code Talking About Birds at any store you go to for 100% off. And then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Also leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps. And tell your friends and tell your family. Let me just say, I'm thankful to all of you. Wow.
Okay.
Hambone, where else can people find us online?
Yeah, we're on the stupid social media sites. You can find us at Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. You can watch this episode and look at Nate's new mustache or the background of my office on YouTube. Yeah. You can see I have a Cardinals hat. There's a Japanese fan. All those amazing things on YouTube. Talking About Birds. You can email us at talkingaboutbirds@gmail.com. You can find all of this information and t-shirts. Nate, Christmas is coming up. Go buy somebody a t-shirt for Christmas at talkingaboutbirds.com. And of course, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
848-48-BIRDS. Hambone, I got some breaking news for you. While you were talking, I thought I'd give an old refresheroo to MLB trade rumors. And the Orioles are hiring Mike Schilt in a player development role.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Run away, everybody. He might yell at you.
Yeah, about some Orioles coaches about to be yelled at.
Wow.
It makes sense that he'd be in baseball somewhere. It also makes sense that he's not a manager anymore. That ship,
not in direct, specific leadership, more of a guidance role.
Yeah, lifetime baseball guy. He probably should still be working in baseball, but leadership just isn't for everybody. All right, let's talk about some other stuff that's happening around baseball. What have you got for us?
Would you consider yourself the leader of this podcast? Who's in charge here? Are you the manager or am I the manager?
Yeah, I think of I'm like the CEO and you're like the janitor, I think. No insult to janitors.
I didn't think you'd go that low. Jeez.
You're like the regional assistant manager.
Okay, that's fine. All right, let's talk about some league news. Shohei.
Sorry, go on.
I'm like the Shohei Ohtani of this podcast.
Sure.
Which, by the way, he just announced that he plans on representing Japan in the World Baseball Classic this summer, which obviously is great news for people who want to watch the World Baseball Classic. Last time he played in it was maybe one of my favorite non-Cardinals games in a very long time. If you remember, he went on to strike out Mike Trout to win the WBC.
Yes.
It sounds like they are probably not going to let him pitch. He might be a hitter only, but we'll find out, see what happens. But I'll tell you what, Shohei Ohtani's playing for Japan. Aaron Judge is playing for the States. I think we're going to have a really fun WBC, and I frankly cannot wait. And I kind of, I'm curious to see how the Cardinals handle it. I'm sure we'll get into that more later. But last time the Cardinals participated in the WBC, a lot of people blame that for the beginning of the end and why we are where we are now. But I don't know how much we buy into that. But anyways, WBC coming. Shohei Ohtani's going to be there.
Very excited. I love the WBC. It's really it's the dream of an all-star game in baseball form. That's what we want to see. Shohei Ohtani striking out Mike Trout to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
And also with the increasing rate of the pipeline from Japan and Asian leagues over to the United States, it's kind of an introductory. We saw Roki Sasaki for the first time. At least that was for me and probably a lot of baseball fans. That was our first sort of chance to see him, and now he's over here, and there'll probably be some other insane Japanese pitcher that strikes out everybody, and we're all excited about when he comes over to the league, so just a lot of fun. And Team USA looking, as always, just insane. You said Judge, we got Bobby Witt in there too. Top to
that
bottom,
alone is
top to bottom, it's pretty dynamic. But it's baseball. Anyone can win in a game, and Japanese leagues are good, as we saw last time this happened. But a ton of fun. I'm hoping for a deep run from one of the Latin American teams too. That's always just every other league has more fun playing baseball than MLB. So I'm always excited when one of these other leagues do really well, because they do it better than us from a fun standpoint.
I was watching some Winter League baseball last night, and they are pumping top 40 hits in between pitches, and everybody's going nuts. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So obviously the Cardinals had a big blockbuster trade this week. The Mets and the Rangers also did a big one. The Mets traded Brandon Nimmo to the Rangers, and the Rangers returned Marcus Semien to the Mets. Two big players on big contracts that I kind of thought were going to be with their teams until the end of those contracts. I really thought Nimmo was going to be a lifelong Met. And Marcus Semien, he was kind of the first chip to fall when the Rangers were reestablishing themselves as a powerhouse in the West, bringing in Semien and
Seager.
Oh, Seager, thank you. But yeah, kind of a swap for a swap. Some people are calling this a bad contract for a bad contract. I don't know if I really see it this way. Like, Marcus Semien is still a pretty good player. Like, the offense has taken a step back, but he's good at everything else. And Brandon Nimmo he was never great, right? He's never as good as Semien was, but he still walks. He's still a fine outfielder. He can still run a little bit. I think it's an interesting trade. Offensively, very different players.
Yeah, I don't think it's exact. My first thought was bad contract for bad contract, but I think it's more like mediocre contracts for better fits on our respective teams, right? Semien up the middle with Lindor is going to be very, very good defense. It's a high risk. Right. He's still 3 more years. He's 35 now. So what does a 38-year-old Semien look like? You can see how that might go pretty poorly. But Nimmo has 5 years of control left, at $20 million a year AAV, and it's fine. Like, everyone calling this a blockbuster, it feels a little high to me, because it's like just trading of two sort of mid but good players. I did think it was surprising. You kind of already said this. I thought Nimmo was going to be a Met forever. He was been kind of the de facto face of the team in many ways, because he's the longest tenured player. I think I saw he's the only one. He was the only one still on a team that had played with David Wright, which is kind of he's kind of bridging the gap between the old successful Mets and the current hopefully successful Mets. So surprising move, but I think that they just kind of swap, and it fits better for each team.
Yeah. I think for some reason I thought Marcus Semien was a little younger than he is, but yeah, he'll be 35 next year, and took a offensive step back. That being said, he has had good and bad offensive seasons, kind of oscillate back and forth. I wonder if he'll be able to.
He could be good with the Mets
back out again.
I think they had Baby Acuna there, who was looking like not very much at all at second base. So they certainly bring in some improvement there. And if the Mets are looking at like, well, let's just lift the floor of the team. I don't know exactly what their outfield depth looks like, but going from Baby Acuna to Semien, I think is a pretty good step up. You should feel pretty confident there.
What's also interesting is it seems like they're shopping Jeff McNeil pretty aggressively.
Yeah.
And he is kind of slated to be their current left fielder right now. They have Juan Soto, of course. They just re-signed Tyrone Taylor. I don't know.
Maybe they're going to go big in on Tucker or something.
I believe in our prediction game in the Bird Scored, I said that Tucker was going to the Yankees, but either New York team would make sense.
Yeah.
All right. Final piece of news. Talk about another Japanese player. Tatsuya Imai says that he would rather pave his own way than follow the Japanese stars to the Dodgers. He wants to be on the team that takes the Dodgers down. And I will say, this makes me love this guy. I didn't know a ton about this guy coming in, but this makes me love him. I wish the Cardinals were in a place to sign a player like this. But I'm rooting for him. I kind of hope maybe the Blue Jays would be fun, or I don't know, somewhere other than the Dodgers. And the fact that he's calling them out makes me think that he is going to be a fan favorite in Major League Baseball very quickly and a very fun player to watch. And by the way, he's had a great NPB career up to this point.
What a way to what a way to read the room, you know?
Yeah.
Like everybody's pretty sick of the Dodgers right now, even if we like a lot of the individual players on the Dodgers. It's just the general vibe is to hate the Dodgers. And so this guy joining the league comes out firing, like, fuck the Dodgers. Like, everyone's like, you know, 29 other teams, fan bases are like, So what a way to enter the league. And he also has stated that he doesn't really care about having other Japanese players on the team, which is not what other players have said. So seems pretty wide open. He's pretty much willing to go anywhere as far as those two things are concerned. I'd love to dream on it and say, well, the Cardinals are going to be competitive. Like, you could make a pitch about him being the face of the rebound and like Heim, Bloom, and Cove, the Bloom Brigade. Could make an argument for that like, okay, 26 isn't going to be the year, but you'll get acclimated to the league also, and 27 and beyond, we're the team that's taken down the Dodgers in years past, you could see that argument being made, and I would certainly love for them to do it, but I've seen no reporting that they're even going to try, and I also totally understand if they just don't see themselves as the likely landing spot for him. It's like everybody who efforted at Yamamoto when it was like obvious, he was going to be a Dodger.
I will say, to put a Cardinals lens on this, a few data points that are interesting. He's 27 right now. He will be 28 halfway or at the beginning of next season. So you could sign him to a 6-year deal or something like that and feel pretty good about it. Also, Heim Bloom has a previous history of acquiring Japanese players, so it wouldn't be this first time doing it. So that's kind of interesting. And I think the big question is that post Yamamoto, post Roki Sasaki, who obviously he had a rookie contract. It was a different situation than these normal free agents. But like, what is the going rate for an Imai? Like, he is a good, not great pitcher in NPB. He's nowhere near Yamamoto or Roki Sasaki. Is this a guy that the Cardinals could get a good rate on, that they could maybe buy a little, like this money could go a little further than it would go on a starter who has Major League Baseball experience? Is this more like a Shoto Imanaga level deal? Because if that is the kind of deal, if the Cardinals could get, if their dollar could go a little more further, maybe that is something they're entertaining. I don't have any reason to believe that they are or that they should or anything like that. But his age, his skill level, you think might align with what the Cardinals could potentially consider doing.
Yeah, I'm sure they're at least he's on the board, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they've completely ignored it. We know that they are shopping for starting pitching. So if they're not thinking about him, then it's a lack of due diligence. I would just be surprised. I think he's going to get paid. You're right, he's not Yamamoto, but he's been pretty good. Better than Imanaga, as I understand it. So I think he'll get a pretty good contract. And there's just, if anything, this last World Series and playoff just put another spotlight on these guys who come over from this league, and everyone's going to want him,
Yeah. Yeah, if you're curious, over the last 3 seasons in MPB, he has started almost all of his games, struck out around 9 per 9, and his ERA has been sitting right around 2.
Yeah.
So very good player, very good pitcher. He's a righty. And like I said, still young.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll wrap this up. And so now we're going to end with a little game. Hambone, what do you think about when you think about Thanksgiving?
Potatoes, turkey.
What is it?
Unbuttoning your jeans. Watching the big football match.
Wow. Out on the pitch. Yeah. Big football match. Right. Turkey. You said it. And what is a turkey but a bird? And what is a game that has birds in it that we've played? You know it. You love it. We're going back to bird or boy. Last time we played this was embarrassingly with Dan Zimborski almost a year ago. Hopefully we'll have him on the show again when the Cardinals Zips projections come out. They've been coming. Have you been looking at the other Zips projections that they come out?
I've been zipping.
Yeah.
Zip zop zooing.
Yep. Anyway, the way this game works, I'm going to say a name. This name is either a type of bird or someone who has played Major League Baseball at some point in their career. Ben has to guess. Wow. Is it a bird or is it a boy? Hambone, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Dewitcher.
That kind of that just sounds like a relief pitcher to me. I'm gonna go Bob Dewitcher. That's a guy.
Dewitchers are medium-sized shorebirds known for their long, straight bills and rapid sewing machine probing in mudflats. They migrate long distances across North America and can be tricky to identify because the two main species, short-billed and long-billed, look nearly identical.
Fascinating information.
Isn't it? All right. Pachi.
God. I don't know why, but I just don't care today. I'm going to say...
Come on. How could you not care about bird or boy?
I'm going to say that's a boy. It sounds like an Italian last name.
Colin Pachi is a left-handed reliever for the Tampa Bay Rays, recognized for his deceptive delivery and high strikeout potential.
Yep. Wowee.
All right. Greeby.
It's kind of cutesy. Birds got stupid names like that. I'm gonna say it's a bird.
Birds got stupid names like that. Well,
that's what I said.
Yep. Well, this bird got a stupid name like that. Greebies are diving water birds with sleek bodies, lobbed toes, and excellent underwater agility. They dive to catch fish
back to bed.
And insects, often disappearing for long stretches before popping up far away. How about that?
Don't pop up on me, bird. Jeez.
Many species perform elaborate courtship dances. Wow.
Horny birds.
Yeah. Okay. How about stripling?
Ross Stripling? I'm going to go baseball player.
Okay. Yeah, some of these, Pachi's still going too, so I thought you might get him. But yes, Ross Stripling is a right-handed pitcher. It was pitched in a bunch of different teams.
Yeah.
All right. Duckworth.
Well, that's 100% a last name. Is there also a duck called the Duckworth or something like that? I don't know, but I'm going to say last name. Boy, for sure.
Brandon Duckworth was a right-handed pitcher who spent parts of 8 MLB seasons with the Phillies, Astros, and Royals. I just love including ones that actually have a bird name in their name.
You have to, Nate. There's no way you can't do it. I get it.
I got to. Just a few more here for you, Hambone. Sora.
Sora. Give me bird on that one. It's soaring through the air. I'm gonna call it a Sora.
The Sora is a small, secretive marsh bird found across North America, known for its chicken-like shape and short yellow bill.
What kind of secrets you got, bird?
Well, it prefers hiding in dense reeds and cattails, making it easier to hear than to see.
Like another pervy bird.
Yeah, you're just out there in the cattails. Just, what are you looking at?
Don't look at me, bird.
Don't look at me.
Stay back.
Stay back. Hambone will take a bite. Ben's out there with his giant
Yeah, you did
ice.
say chicken-like.
Yeah. Well, you're out there licking your fish cube. See a little bird come by.
So
Upgrade.
I'm so insatiable, or I'm so bear-like.
Both, my dude.
Okay, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Start licking that bird. How about Pippet?
Boy, Pippet. Hello, Pippet.
Hello, Pippet.
Wow, that could go. Pepio is a guy.
Sure.
Pippet. Pippet sounds like it could go either way. I'm gonna say, like, Ryan Pippet sounds like a guy to me. I'm gonna say it's a boy.
Pippets are slender, ground-dwelling songbirds known for their constant wagging tails and soft, high-pitched calls.
Another pervy bird shaking its ass.
So many pervy birds. Talking about pervy birds, they inhabit grasslands, tundra, and open fields across many continents. Wow.
That's actually sick, dude. That's sick.
Dude. All right, last one for you, Hambone. Birdie.
Birdie. John Birdie?
Birdie.
That's a boy.
I actually have Birdie Tebbets. Was a catcher for the Tigers, Red Sox, and Guardians during the 1930s.
How does he spell that?
Birdie. Birdie.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, John Birdie also exists, Nate.
Mm-hmm. Birdie Tebbets, though. How about that? All right, you got
Tebbet sounds like a bird too.
I know. I almost just said Tebbets, but I had to go with Birdie.
I think it would have been a funnier reveal if you said the bird is it bird or boy Tebbets, and then the reveal is that the guy's name is Birdie Tebbets.
Okay, let's try it. All right, Hambone, here we go. All right,
it's too late.
Got one more for you, Hambone.
No, wrap it up. Wrap it up.
Tebbets.
I'm gonna say that's a guy.
Dude, you're never gonna believe this. You're never gonna believe what his name is. Hold on, I lost it. Where is it? Hold on. Birdie Tebbets.
That's pretty good. All right, call in and let us know which take you liked. One or two.
Call Hambone's personal cell phone.
You showed a real lack of coachability there. I think you need to get off your high horse, pal.
I took the feedback immediately and implemented it the moment it was provided.
Sarcastically, and I would say a little aggressively. I felt a little attacked.
Well, I will remind you, we are in a blood feud, so it's important that I am within my rights as a member, one half of a blood feud. Thank you very much.
Whatever you say, pal, buddy.
I'm not your guy. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for Bird or Boy. What a game! And that's gonna do it for this episode. Happy Thanksgiving once again to all of our friends and family out there. And if you're in the other parts of the world that don't celebrate Thanksgiving, give it a shot. That's my idea. Why not? You know?
Yeah.
We'll be back next week.
You really can't miss it.
We'll be back next week. Maybe another big move. Maybe not. But we'll certainly be here to talk about whatever's happened. Tell your friends, tell your family. TalkingAboutBirds.com for all your links and everything. And until next week, I'm going to say it. Go Cardinals.
Go Cards.